As we get into the second hour of our time together, not only do I have great music that's still coming up, I've also got a great discussion that I've been looking forward to for a while because I know a little bit about the story behind this and I can't wait to share it with you. I'm joined this afternoon by Tshwanelo, who is an author doing some phenomenal things. In actual fact, she's just recently released a book that we're going to be chatting about this afternoon that's dedicated to our kids, your kids. I say our because your kids are my kids, and we keep it like that because that's kind of how we do it in the way we grow up. And she's got a book that's specifically written for our kids to encourage them of who they are. And she's got a book that she's titled "Remarkably Made for young little girls to remind them that they are remarkably made." So it's a great privilege and honor to have Tshwanelo Serumola joining me this afternoon. Tshwanelo, thank you so much for making time to be with us.
Hi, Kosi. Thank you so much for having me. It's honestly a pleasure, and good afternoon to your listeners.
It's so good to talk to you specifically about, the book that you've written. And we're going to get into that in a moment because I think the title is catchy, Remarkably Made, and the reminder that we are beautifully and remarkably made. But before we get to that, tell us about Tshwanelo and, your history, why you ended up writing a book, what inspired you to be an author, because that's not something you find everybody just choosing.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. So I am a 25-year-old who's a lover of life, lover of children, lover of literature. And in high school, I just, developed this passion for reading. I think my dad really instilled that in me. So I carried it forth with me. And I mean, I love children to the point where literally right after high school, I took a gap year and I moved to the United States. And I was like, I am going to be an au pair. So I was taking care of kids, and that was really, really amazing. So when I came back to complete my studies at the University of Pretoria, I then decided that, you know what, I am definitely going to go through with this. So I started writing my first book during COVID, and it was published last year. And now we have the second one out, and I will get into the titles.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing the story about the titles, but also I'm thinking there's a couple of parents listening to you saying you love kids, you became an au pair during your gap year. They're probably thinking, I need your number to be able to call you and say, hey, here's my kids for the weekend or something like that. But why write a book then for kids? Because it's one thing to love them, it's one thing to love literature, it's another thing to marry
Yeah.
the two and say, hey, I'd love to write a book that encourages them.
Yeah, no, that is such a interesting question because I honestly believe like it was my two passions coming into one, So because I have this deep love for children, I then decided that okay, I have to then write a book, because I've also like mentioned very fond of literature. So specifically, I genuinely love teaching children like really big concepts and I think it's so important for their early childhood development. So that's why I decided to write a book. I think I wanted to also write something that I could read myself someday, or at least when I was, much younger. So I
Mm.
want brown children to have this literature readily available for them to help them with, confidence, navigating through certain things that we go through in childhood, and knowing that you have the capabilities of, striving for your goals and actually seeing them come to life. Like they need to know this from an early age. It makes a
Yeah.
huge difference.
Oh man, that
Yeah.
sounds really fantastic. Especially to have that heart is one thing, and
Yeah.
like I said in the introduction of this question, to actually follow it through and put it together into something that they can have is something phenomenal. Now, Tshwanelo, let's get into the titles of the book. This is where I get excited
Yeah.
because it carries a lot of the essence of the weight of the book. Tell us about the names of the books.
Yes. So I actually love what you did in the beginning. It was almost like you took both titles of the book and you made it one. So the one is Wonderfully Made and then the other one is Remarkable Me. So there's one that came out last year and that was for little brown girls and that was called Wonderfully Made. And I think it's also just such a beautiful verse as well, because that's essentially where I got the title of the book. It was a biblical verse that said, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And I wanted to, get those affirmations and continue with that theme in the children's book. So that was the girls one. And then the second one that came out just this June is Remarkable Me. And I'm so excited because it's like their brother and sister, you know?
Yeah.
So one is for girls, one is for boys, and they speak to similar core messages, of the fact that you're such I mean, like, first of all, you should love your skin, you should love your hair. You should also just be kind to others. It's also about having great principles, great morals, great characteristics. And like I mentioned, if we start these, teachings at a very early age, we get to see the difference in our children's lives as they grow.
Yeah, and I want to actually double click on something that you said earlier. You very specifically highlight how it's written, wonderfully made, is written specifically for young brown girls. Why was it so
Yeah.
important for you to kind of get that specific in terms of who the audience is, and not just for little girls?
Yeah, so I would definitely say like I have an amazing team, by the way, Pan Macmillan, and yeah, Pan Macmillan is the one who published the books. And so obviously with the guidance of my team, they were just like, you know what, maybe there is a shortage of this in the market. And I didn't really look at it that way, but I knew for a fact that I would always do something like this, like as a love letter to brown girls, as a love letter to brown boys. It just so happened it all happened at the right time. So I believe like brown girls need to know, from an early age that they're represented in the literature that they read. And I think that is so pivotal, because when you see yourself, I mean, when you start seeing, you start believing. So it's one thing for them to, attend multiracial schools, but then, they need to have literature that is specifically dedicated to them for them to know, you know what, my brown skin is amazing. My brown skin is beautiful, because I think when it comes to beauty standards, people have their own perceptions. And I want brown girls to know that brown skin is very phenomenal. So
Yeah.
I think that's intentionally wrote for brown skin girls, be it black girls, be it colored girls, yeah, mixed girls. So that was my love, and I'm so happy that it came together so well in Wonderfully Made.
Yeah, man, this is actually really fantastic. And I'm also seeing it become a tool for others to be able to learn about the life and the importance of highlighting to brown girls, why it's important for them to love
Yeah,
themselves and love their skin. But let's talk about the boys one, which is the one that you've just released in this month of June. I mean, that is also
yeah,
something that's very specific. And one would say, they don't need the reminder as much. It's a boy, so he just needs to be tough. Why was it? I mean, you went
yeah.
against the grain. Why go against the
Mm.
grain and create that same platform to say, hey, you also need the encouragement to remind it of who you are?
Yes. Oh my gosh. This one actually just it gives me chills when I think about it, because we quite often I think our brown boys are neglected. And so I wanted them to also feel included. So funny enough, a lot of the boy moms came up to me, and they were just like, I really think this is something that we need for our boys. And so it was just so interesting just tapping into it because I have nephews and we have these little boys running around, and if we want, great men in society someday, I truly believe like it starts with an early age. Like everything literally starts from those forming stages of life when they're a sponge. Like right now, my books are dedicated from like 0 to at least 10 years old. But I mean, I don't just want to box it. I believe it's from like 0 to at least 12, 13. And these are affirmations that they can grow up learning and characteristics that they can believe so that, when they grow up as young men in society, they have great principles installed in them.
Mm.
So that's what I wanted to do. It was like my gift to little boys. And I hope it'll be well received. And I hope we will receive more literature for young boys, brown boys specifically, because I think, we obviously living in a very masculine society, and with my book it helps them to be soft. Like there are pages in the book where they speak about brown boys having dreams to become anything that they want to be. So like a ballerina, a chef, a pilot, an architect, like name it. And I feel like this is what they need to know. So they need that affirmation, they need the confidence, and that's what Remarkable Me is about.
Yeah, man. I actually love these so much because they are so empowering to young kids
Mm.
that go through a lot at these ages and try to figure out who
Yeah.
they are. And society, the world can try to tell them a specific story. And it's important that we bring them back to what the word of God has already spoken over them. And I'm so glad that
Oh,
you've chosen these specific titles. As we wrap up our time together, when you're thinking about, I mean, we're wrapping up Youth Month, and it's important what you've done as a young person to give back to young people. What do you hope, if we look at the next generation of young people that look to you, stepping into your sphere of what you love and being able to be a voice, what do you say to encourage them that in where they are, they should be a voice? Or maybe there's teenagers that's listening to you now that they can be a voice where they are, or maybe even stand firm in their identity, who may be teens or parents of teenagers, that they can share with them to encourage them in a world that is inundated with various versions of what the world says
yeah.
they should look like and should become.
Oh, that is a very excellent question. And there's obviously like so many things that I could say in regards to that. But I think the most important thing is being true to yourself. I think obviously in when we are teenagers, we have this influence around us and we're trying to find our feet, we're trying to find who we are. And I genuinely believe that the reason why I think I have been able to published 2 books at the age of 25 is because I was true to myself. I did not look to my friends and be like, oh my goodness, they're doing this, they're doing that. Maybe I'm falling behind, because I think when you start to compare, it literally does say that the thief of all joy is literally comparison. So my message to them would be stay true to yourself, figure out yourself, take time to, genuinely know yourself, what it is that you want and what it is that you don't want. You have to learn what you will tolerate and what you will not tolerate. And that will help you navigate your way through society. And I think parents as well, be patient with your children. They're only developing, they're growing. And yeah, it's an interesting stage. It's an interesting age. But I believe that as they continue to grow, they will get enlightenment. And with that enlightenment, I can only hope that it will direct them on their path. So my one thing would just be stay true to yourself and you will go much further than you anticipate. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Oh, man. Absolutely love that. Tshwanelo, thank you so much for your time this afternoon to chat to us about your books. As we wrap up our time, where can people find the book if the parents are listening or people are listening saying, hey, I'd love to get myself a copy of both the books?
Yes, so you can get them at Book Circle Capital in Melville. You can get them at Exclusive Books, Bargain Books, online as well. I think if you just search and you go to the Pan Macmillan website, you can order online. You can order from Take a Lot. Yeah. And if anybody also wants to reach out to me, my Instagram handle is love_Tshwanelo. And I'm always just open to conversation, So
Mm.
yeah, I'd appreciate the support. And I think it's the perfect little gift for your little ones.
Oh, man, Tshwanelo, thank you so much. I'm excited about the books. And who knows, maybe you'll write another one for, the brothers of these ones and the uncles and the aunts and the grandparents. But let me not sway you. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. That was Tshwanelo Serumola joining us right here on the afternoon drive, talking about her books, Wonderfully Made and Remarkable Me. Beautiful books. And I think it's so important as we're wrapping up Youth Month to understand the power of encouraging our children, of being able to remind them of who they are, who God says they are, before the world comes in and tries to sway them into any other direction. Here's Aaron David with Good Day. Oh, it's gonna be a Tshwanelo, thank you so much. That was fantastic.
That was great. I really enjoyed our conversation. It really felt like it was just you and me talking and there wasn't like listeners.
And I always prefer that when I do interviews. I always have them conversational because I'm just like, the more conversational they are, the more information comes up, and it's what you love.
Yeah,
So you will also flow from that place. And
that's
thanks for humoring me with my very hectic questions that I sometimes just throw in there. But I think
hey,
you
Kosi. Definitely something. But that was nice, man. You're amazing at what you
thank
do.
you. I appreciate it so much. We're gonna get a snippet of this interview. You're gonna pop it on the socials, I think by tonight already. Is I think especially the answer that you gave at the end in terms of message to young people, just as a
Mm,
wrap up of Youth Month. I think that'll be really awesome.
amazing. Thank you so much, Kosi.
Thank you, Tshwanelo. Have a fantastic evening, and we'll chat again soon.
Sharp.
Bye.